Hello, all you beautiful people out there in the ether that I like to call the internet. Welcome to Legally Sevvy, where today we will talk about P. Diddy's lawsuits in civil court in the District of New York. And we'll talk about them and go through them to see what is going on because a lot of things have been happening. And one of the complaints just got amended to add none other but Jay Z. But before we go into that, please remember to subscribe, like this video, and comment below. The first lawsuit that is in civil court in the Southern District of New York is against Sean Combs, also known as P. Diddy, all of his entities, and none other than JC, whose real name is Sean Carter. This was filed by Jane Doe, and the case number, in case you are curious and want to look it up, is 24CV07975. This lawsuit was recently amended as of December 8th of 2024. What is really interesting about the fact that this lawsuit was amended, again, it names Sean Carter, which before was just known as Celebrity A. Now we have a name behind him. The lawsuit was filed by a female, Jane Doe, who was 13 years old at the time. Since we are in YouTube, I will use the letter R to describe some of the conduct and SA to also describe the conduct that was alleged. You can read it in the complaint, but for purposes of this video, we will not say the word. Now, back to the complaint. The allegations state that P. Diddy allegedly abused, molested, assaulted, threatened, and coerced women, minors, and others for sexual gratification in order to assert dominance and to conceal the conduct. The complaint states that P. Diddy accomplished these acts by and through a criminal enterprise that he built on his success as a rapper, record producer, and record executive. The complaint states that Combs is one of the wealthiest musical artists in the world, and behind the facade of being a 3-time Grammy Award winner, discovering multiple and developing multiple famous musical artists and ranking on Forbes' list of highest-paid entertainers in the world, there existed something sinister. A dark underbelly of crime, sex, trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, bribery, and prostitution. Again, these are all allegations that are stated in the complaint. Under the factual allegations in the complaint, the plaintiff alleges that on or around September 7th of 2020, when she was 13 years old, a friend dropped her off near Radio City Music Hall in New York City so she could attend the Video Music Awards. When she was there, she saw large crowds gathering as artists and entertainers began arriving. As she was there, she had no ticket, she remained outside, and it was at that point when she was approached by one of the limousine drivers who claimed he worked for defendant Combs. The driver allegedly told her that Combs liked younger girls and that she was a fit for what he was looking for. He did not allow her to go inside into the music awards and instead drove her to an after party. Again, these are all allegations. The driver stated that he had to drive Combs and others to the after party first, but then instructed the plaintiff to return to this location after the event and that he would pick her up and take her to the after party. Later that evening, the plaintiff returned to the same location and then she was driven to the after party. After approximately 20 minutes, she arrived at a large white residence with a gate U-shaped driveway. Upon her entry, she was asked to sign an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement, and she was told that she could not discuss what happened at the party. She gave the men her name and signed the form, but she never received a copy of whatever it is that she wrote. She states that she believes it was an NDA. And as a side point, an NDA is not a way to conceal criminal conduct. There has been a lot of debate about how restrictive can an NDA be and under what circumstances. And the position taken by many is that a non-disclosure agreement is not a safe pass for folks to not testify against you in a court of law when they are subpoenaed by the judge who is asking them about your criminal conduct. The complaint continues to state that wait staff were circulating around carrying trays of drinks and while loud music was playing in the background. Plaintiff observed allegedly widespread drug use, including marijuana and cocaine use, and after trying to attempt to talk to numerous celebrities, she decided to grab a drink that was reddish and yellowish and that tasted like orange juice, cranberry juice, and something bitter. After drinking it, the plaintiff stated that she started to feel woozy and lightheaded, making her feel like she needed to lay down. The complaint then shows a picture of a container that was allegedly used by Combs and or his agents or employees to insert a drug, GHB, into alcoholic drinks that is shown in the screen right now. After the plaintiff looked around for a place to rest, she found an empty room with a bed and she went in there, and it is here where the R and SA happened. She stated that soon after she entered, Combs entered the room along with JC and a female celebrity, which is being described as Celebrity B. The plaintiff immediately recognized all three celebrities. The allegations are that Combs aggressively approached the plaintiff with a crazed look in her eyes, grabbed her, and said, "You're ready to party." Combs then threw plaintiff towards a wall, causing her to fall, and she stumbled, at which point he allegedly grabbed her again and allegedly threw her on the bed. And at that point, JC allegedly began removing her clothes as she grew more and more disoriented. The complaint then goes into a lot of detail about what allegedly JC did to her and then what Combs did to her as well. The allegations are pretty serious and severe and egregious, particularly considering that we're talking about a minor that was very clearly under the influence of some type of drug or alcohol. It's unclear exactly what she had been drinking at that point. The plaintiff stated that she just kept running after that happened, and she asked if she could use her phone to call her father. Her father picked her up, and then after the assault, the plaintiff stated that she fell into a deep depression that still continues to affect her, and she suffers from PTSD and seizure disorder caused by stress and trauma. The complaint then starts to talk about the cause of action, which is under the New York City Victims of Gender Motivated Violence Protection Act, and states that defendants Combs and Carter committed a crime of violence motivated by gender under the Victims of Gender Motivated Violence Protection Act as defined in New York City Administrative Code 10-1103. At the end of the complaint, the plaintiff then asked for compensatory damages based on her physical injuries, emotional distress, physical harm, anxiety, humiliation, physical and emotional pain, and suffering, family and social disruption, and other harm. She's also asking for punitive damages, attorney's fees and costs, pre- and post-judgment interest, as well as any other further relief that this court may deem just and proper. What is also interesting has been the response from JC's group and JC after the complaint came out. A couple of things to note. One is that JC's team states that his lawyer received a blackmail attempt called a demand letter from a lawyer named Tony Busby. What he had calculated was the nature of the allegations and the public scrutiny would make me want to settle. Demand letters are very common. They're very common. Sometimes there are a requirement for you to try to settle a case before you actually file in court. It's one of the things that sometimes you get asked. Did you send a demand letter? Did you try to have a conversation to try and settle it before you're coming to trial? Because no matter what, when you do file a lawsuit, the judge will ask the parties if they're interested in some type of mediation to try and settle or see if they have explored those options. In Twitter, JC's company states that this was a blackmail attempt. Then he goes on to say, no, sir, it had the opposite effect. It made me want to expose you for the fraud you are in a very public fashion. So no, I will not give you one red penny. These allegations are so heinous in nature that I implore you to file a criminal complaint, not a civil one. Whoever would commit such a crime against a minor should be locked away. Would you not agree? What is interesting about this is the fact that victims, they might ask for a criminal complaint or charge to be filed for arrest to be done against an individual, but that's not their call. The victim is just stating what they wish could happen. It is not their call about whether or not the police are going to grab somebody and arrest them. So having the attorney state, well, you should file a criminal charge instead and arrest JC, that's not an appropriate ask of them to do. You will have to talk to the police about it and the detectives who are investigating the crime. Whether or not the state of New York decides to do something would be interesting to see what type of steps they take. I just find the statement of, if you were telling the truth, you would file a criminal complaint, that's not particularly accurate. I mean, unless he meant file a criminal report or make a criminal report and ask the police to investigate me, that's a different thing. They could make a call to the police station and ask the police to investigate JC for the alleged activities and behaviors. That's a possibility that they could potentially do. Whether they have done that or not, I do not know. It could be bad wording because it is Twitter, of course, and we will see as well later in this Twitter. There's also another typo that also makes no sense. So it is possible that he just meant file a report with the police so they investigate it, and if they deem it worth it, then at that point the police can then arrest him and charge him with some type of crime. JC then continues to say these alleged victims would deserve real justice if that were the case. And then he just goes on to do attacks on the lawyer personally, stating, this is the lawyer who I've done a bit of research on seems to have a pattern of these type of theatrics. I have no idea you have come to be such a deplorable human, Mr. Busby, but I promise you I have seen your kind many times over. Well, ad hominem attacks are not very persuasive, sir. You resort to such attacks when you have nothing else to do. It's very possible that he's just speaking out of anger. The Twitter post continues on to say, you have made a terrible error in judgment thinking that all celebrities are the same and not from your world. I'm a young man who made it out of the Project of Brooklyn. So far that I am aware of, JC is 65 or around that age. I would not classify that as being young, but maybe it's just me. Maybe it is just me. He continues on to say, we don't play these types of games. We have very strict codes on honor. We protect children. You seem to exploit people for personal gain. Only your network of conspiracy theorists, your fake physics, will believe the audit claims you have levied against me, that if not for the seriousness surrounding harm to kids, would be laughable. I'm not sure if he meant physics or if he meant psychics. I'm not really sure there what he meant. But that is a response from JC. The law firm did put out a press statement stating that their demand letter did not have a monetary amount attached to it. They just simply stated that they were willing to talk about possible settlement. That is pretty normal, and they stated that their demand letter was pretty standard. It was pretty much a boilerplate from what they do already. So that is it. Please remember to subscribe, follow this channel if you have not already, and leave a comment below. Tell me what you think of these new developments. Keep your eyes peeled for future videos about P. Diddy's criminal case and the appeals that are currently pending for his bond. Thank you everybody so much for watching, and I will talk to all of you later.